here to page Shin Nun Ches, and that's where we're at. As long as you can hear me, okay. So we'll go. So Shin Nun Ches, reading across the top, he says, "Hine min aromei koyet shegemosha ha'ish v'niach tefillin." This is really he says in the blurb that this is why aren't women obligated to put on tefillin. He says, just like a man puts on tefillin, kedinyan tefillin shall rosh their anpen. It's really similar or tied to the Rosh of their anpen came gam ha'isha tis chayev b'tefillin. So also the woman is also should be chayev in tefillin. Kedinyum hanuk to their anpen. Shabbatachas tefillin b'rosha kenizkar, who puts on tefillin on her head. Avach the reason for this, the fi she'eloch tefillin the rosh the rachel. Hey b'chiyose b'bechina the kuda achad belvad, because they're only adat. If it ain't parts of klal, there's just that energy there, that's all, but it hasn't developed. So therefore we don't really see her with tefillin because it's very, very small at that point. So he takes and he puts this nakuda on his arm, along with the tefillin, her tefillin, the nikra tefillin shal yad zeranpin. Let me just read that again. Asher hu mekasher imo, he ties to himself osach nakuda. In other words, that's on his left arm. Let's go on to the next section. He says, "Bir tam." The reason for this is v'amar ki azakamos av. So we had this phrase as from Shir Shirim. And it says that I guess it says he's strong like love, very strong, powerful love. He azamaod, since his love is so strong. Rosh that she should put me at the beginning. So this is, I guess, like going through the Pesukim over there in Shir Shirim. So he's at nighttime. The Bechinis also Rishima, which is that Rishima that we're talking about. Then in the morning, so take me, the Bechinis in the form, I guess, of the Kudas Akeser, so he put it outside of your heart. So Tefillin shal yad. So he says, please put it over there in the secret of Tefillin shal yad. Because her love, I guess, is powerful, is a very powerful love. So after putting on the tefillin on the arm, so first we put on the arm, then we put on the head. So he said, "By the Indian who keep beros their anpen asher rishim shalamocha de nukva shehoya omdim al libel bifnem belayla, that he had that within himself at nighttime. Chazer be'or haboker, when the morning comes, returns al yedecha be'esek Torah shal tachtonim, that by learning by the Torah that the lower worlds learned she'asku belayla, that they learned at nighttime, kenizkar." Also in the Kudas Akeser, and he really refers over there to learning after Chatzos. Kenizkar, but also in the Kudas Akeser Shadocha the Mal. So then the Kudas Akeser goes up above the Kshara Bizro and ties itself at that time, in the nighttime, onto his arm. Al Yedei Esekater Shalatachtain Sha'aska Nizkar. But also Rishima, so this Rishima that we're talking about, Gam came Niknas Benekuda Haki, Bekoich HaMitzvah She'osim Metachtonim B'chanichim Tefillin Shal Yad, so that she also comes in, I guess, this Rishimo, let me just, V'osim Rishimo, the Rishimo that was in the heart of Zeranpin, as we put on Tefillin, Gam came Benekuda Haki, Bekoich HaMitzvah She'osim Tachtonim, when we put on the Tefillin Shal Yad. And then also the bracha helps that the tefillin. So all of that is a concept of bringing the rishima that's been outside onto the arm. And that's where you see her tefillin now So she has the Nakuda plus the Rishima. Oz misak begam he agam huba. So, but also he gets a tikkun here too. The mom shikum shoev bo, and so he pulls down, he draws into himself. Gam as a rishima a shalosh and estalib menabalada. So he also pulls down the rishima that left him at nighttime. The nick the subo, and they come back into him. Benaasim both Tefillin shal Rosh. So since that happened over on the arm, now we're making the Tefillin shal Rosh. V'gam zel ayedech of the mitzvahs Tefillin sheminichem etachtonim. So this we see is coming through the mitzvah Tefillin that are placed that the tachtonim put on here. This comes about then. Because whatever is going to happen in the upper worlds, it's a strong statement. Okay, so he says the top line again there is Ein Davar Naasa Lamalo, whatever is going to be happening in Olam Atzilos, Ala Bakor Maisa Tachtonim, because of what we do down here. The Zecher B'Masha Kasav Kaf and Kasha Kishol Kina, that jealousy is very difficult, like the grave. So he has an explanation of that, and let's look over it now in the Tzedek Avanos and try to pick up. We're on page number Reish Mem Tes. It's at the bottom of the page, and we'll pick it up here. It says V'hine v'kevin shetefillin shel yad heim amocha shebarosh hanok. So that's really the head of the nook. Im came. So this is his kasha, his shiloh. He says since men put on tefillin, Kevin sha'anoshim aim kabiyachol dugma zer anpen, but bechinas the tefillin remezes all the tefillin she'hem amochin she'bereshet zah. So it's really talking about those mochin in the head of zah. Kain al zeh derek gam hanoshim is teschayev be'anachas tefillin. So women should have to do this too. So women are like malchus. So now it's telling us that tefillin are really a remez here to are the arm tefillin, are the rosh of the nook. Nimseim came shagan the nook the zechaman amanachas tefillin but rosha. So we see that she has tefillin on her head. Shemet the film shal yad shebizro azam, which is on Zan's arm. V'im came koyu b'din shachav zacharim yanichon rak tefillin shel rosh. So there, really, what you should have here is that men should put on the tefillin shel rosh, and then sitting next to you or somewhere in the, I guess, behind the bechitza, you'll have women putting on the arm tefillin. V'lo yanichon tefillin shel yad she'im keneged the kudus hakesed denot. So if the woman would do this, so you there you see that she's putting on tefillin. So there it's possible to say the ein kavanas around the lahak shows bifnei ma noshim menichin tefillin shoyad. So he says that the Tiv says that this is not really what the Rav is trying to get at, that women should put on tefillin shoyad. Kevin should be emes and nook nek sheres bizrola besod tefillin shoyad, because I guess he means that the nook is malchus, but does have tefillin on her. Well, she's the tefillin shall that those her tefillin shall rosh, and they're put on the arm and they become the tefillin shall yad. But meidoch hagavarim shehem keneged zer anpin yenichu aim at tefillin shall rosh ve'aim tefillin shall yad. They put on both. Rak shachar shahaylahi. But the real question is the here al hanashim shall the call of pachos tin chandel tefillin shall rosh. So at least they should put on a tefillin of the rosh, because the arm is their anpin is keneged the rosh of the nook. Shehem na'asim bizroa shall zer anpin, which are placed over there on the arm of zer anpin. Shall zer anpin tefillin shall yad. So he says, Abira, Inyan, the real explanation, Shal Nashim, Medichem, Tefillin, Shal Yad, V'chanashim, Einam, Manichas, Tefillin, Tefillin, Barosho. So the real reason, Kevin Shal Tefillin, Shal Yad, Shem Manichem, Anashim, Shehem Tefillin, Shal Rosh, Shabarosh, and Nuk Rachel. So that's tefillin on the arm, or the tefillin of the Rosh of Rachel. Hanok Rachel and Nanuki in Nakuda Achas Bilvad. So now we see that Rachel is only one Nakuda. Shehi Nakuda is a Kesser. This is the Nakuda of Kesser. Shabbat, that's the cat. Her only, she's only a dot, which is really her Kesser. Shabbat also don't see the Boer Boker. Became it Sharanuk Ata Rabaki Rock the Kuda Acha Bilvad. So since she's only one Nakuda now, Ein B'Gadayim Shum Bechinas parts of cloud. There's nothing there except the dot. And B'Shum Kach Ein V'Noshim B'Nechet Tefillin B'Roshim. So that's the reason why, because it's not significant in as it begins. The Hiyosha Ein Ata Bechinas parts of the Nuk, because now there's no parts of the Nuk. The Chein Lo Shayach Adayim Lo Lovsham. So therefore the Lov. So therefore it's not correct. It's not. It doesn't pertain for them to put. They should not put it on. Okay, so we're on Reish Nun Ches now. Akazah shekavar b'yesh the bechinas parts of bezah that has a part. Who kosher bizroa smolis as the kudus akased the duk, and he's tying on his arm, his left arm, this dot of the kesed the nuk. Yachin the rishimo shalamocher shalal. So, but also comes in the rishimo, the mocher shadacha benikra tefillin, which are called tefillin. Now, let me say this again. He says that the rishimo Shalamochim Shalom, Hanikra Tefillin, that's what's called Tefillin. Let me see if that's right. So, who kosher Bezrol as well as the Nudas of Kesedadot, Yachad Ima Rishima Shalamochim Shalom, and that's what makes the Tefillin. Okay, I got it there. But Yosef Tefillin, and with the Tefillin, Haladucha Koshura Zalazrola Smolin Shalazer Anpin, the Chain Elucha Tefillin, Nikron Tefillin Shal Yad, so the Tefillin themselves are called hand Tefillin. Al Shem Yado, because why they're on the arm of Zeranpin, Shal Zeranpin, Agam Shehem Tefillin Shal Rosh the Nook, even though that we see that the Tefillin the Rosh the Nook, Kaven Sha'adayim Ain the Nook Bechin the Parza, but since she has no Parza, so then apparently her Rishima was bato to this position in Zeranpin. L'chein I Asher learn Moses Bechinas of the Tefillin of the Benashim, so therefore it's not possible to make this relationship with the Nashim. So going on a little bit more, so we'll try to get into this, get this finished, go through it. Abira inyam if name ma b'layla azah some as of Rishima shalonok ali but libo. Now it says, well, why does Zah give up this Rishimo of the nook that's by his heart? Of Orha Boker who koshered bizroa smolis shalom beso the tefillin. In the morning, he joins it into this tefillin idea. Who the fichem before b'posa, because of the posa which says like this: Sha'avchasam shal azav v'chanok he azakamos. They have a tremendously powerful love for each other. Their attraction is tremendous. Became sha'avach b'bein azav v'chanok he ava azah, such a strong love ad ma'od. Because so their love is so great that they would die over this. So let's go down a little bit more. So he says, and since you have this situation that the love is so great between us, the Hainabain and Zav and Nuk, so the Chain, excuse me, that's why she doesn't want to leave it. Kolom Shayasim as a Rishimo Shalamochim Shalom. Now he says this is a Rishimo. It seems to me like a Rishimo using this idea is like a pill, and inside the pill are Yom Shakulo. That inside of this is all of the DNA of all of the Mochin of the Nook, of the Mochin of the Nook, which questionable what is the Mochin the Nook are mostly Gavuros, but let's see what we're doing here. Kolom Shayasim as a Rishimo Shalamochim Shalom, so to replace that Rishimo Oh gosh. Okay. Well, that's me too. Oh man. But Kevin, I have to go back a little bit to Reish Samach Daled. But Kevin she'ava bebein dezav v'chanoki ava aza ad ma'od v'kol gadlo achavas amad kiviyachol b'nochem b'mamish l'mos v'kevin shekach gadlo ha'ava b'nei mechadachayne bebein dezav v'nok. He said the kach lechein ha'nok mevakesh b'zad. So that's why she said ma'avash b'lada yasimenik ahosa l'libo kolom sheyasim es a rishima shalamok shalom al libo. And because that he hey Yechol Lehios, and then for that way she'll be able he yells the book love, she'll still be clinging to him. So he said Va'achar Kacher She'oider Baruch Boiker She'az Oider the Goodness of Kesed the Duk Tzilus. Az Hanuk Mevakeshin Mechazer Sheyasim as the Kudus of Kesed Shadach Bebechinas Choisim Al Zroo to move it over to his arm as small as Bebechutz. So he said, Chosim Merames al Tefillin Shal Yad. So now the Chosim, he says, is really going to be a reference to the Tefillin Shal Yad as their anpin, Shuhu Munach B'chutz Lizroazah, placed on outside of the arm. Because there Shahanuk with a catch Machazah Shabaladis, it made it the Chosim al Ibecho of Orcha Bokus in Menika Chosim al Zeracho, beside the film Shayad. Zehu Machmas Ava. This is because of the tremendous love of Gedolah Shoreshas Bein Azan Hanuk. They want to stay together. But the Ficha Hanuch and Eder Rotza the Hippolim Bimenu. So he said, "What's the Seder Hanuch's the Philly?" Hello, are you there, Rebbe? It sounded like I lost you. I think I did. I don't know. Okay. No, I can't find it. Oh gosh. There he is. Okay. So he says, I'm not exactly sure where I was. Every time I get into Rush, I can lose my place. Besod tefillin shayad ki hare hi azikamos avo. Did we do that? We're doing the Maresh Samach test. Let's do that one. Because there shachanuk b'vakeshet mechazer shebaladas imeni gochos b'lebacho. Vorcha b'bochos imeni gochos b'zaracho. Besod tefillin shayad zehu machmas ava rabbedodah sherebes bein zan the nuk. The ficha of the nuk and then a wrote to the varim amen. So here we are over here. Is a Seder Hanachas of Tefillin. So when the order of putting on Tefillin, who Shepetachita Menicha Tefillin Sharyad, V'la'acha Hanachas Tefillin Sharyad, Menicha Tefillin Sharosh. V'atam Lezehu, and the reason for this is this. He says, Ki Kasher Za Rosh Rishimo Shalamochim B'Nekuda Shebemesha Kol Olaylo Choya Omet B'Pinim Za Al Libo. So now that he sees that he had this Rishimo inside of him, now it's not just a Rishimo. Now, he says it comes back in the morning that you have. I'm going to say that it has an appearance of the Nakuda. Masha Rishima Shalanok Choizu the Hikana Baorcha Babeka B'Nakuda Sakasa because with the appearance of the Kesser the Nok, now the Rishimo goes and joins the Kesser the Nok, it's because of people who learn Torah after midnight. And able to learn Torah the whole second half of the night. Dora Boker also in the Kudus Akesa, the Racham Bria, the Bria Litzila. So he says in the morning time, the Nukasa goes up, Mebria Litzilos. Vaz Balayaza he nekshera bezrocha besmolid is anten besoda tefillin. So that's the story that we've been learning. But because as a Torah Azga Hakama Bechatzos Alada because of that Torah. That we again going back to nighttime learning. So he says he ties the learning after midnight to the aliyah of the nook out of Bria. But also Rishim Shalamokum Shalanok next now's Baor Haboike bin the Kudis Akasa Shalanok. So now the Mochim, the Rishimo goes into the Nakuda. Look at this Rishima Shalamocha Besach Nekudas Sakaser, the Rachel Naasa Bekoyach Mitzvah Osim Yitzorach Bezos. So this also takes place, the placing, so this is a Kavana, is that you're putting onto Tefillin, you should have the idea that you're putting the Tefillin into the Rishimo, into the Nekuda. Shebezos Shehem Manichem Tefillin Shal Yad, V'chem Regeder Shemevarchim Al Nachas Tefillin, Birchos Lachaniach Tefillin. He says, "Kashenek does a regime of Shalamocha because of the no. I get it bezeh naase begin the tefillin shal Rosh. You're making the tefillin shal Rosh. Shav Eric zer anpen nikru tefillin shal Yad. It's her Rosh, his arm. Kasher bezachav Rosh Rishima shal Nok niknas bezot nekudas sekaser shal Nok." He says, then what? So he builds at this point bezeh hazah. The Rotza, so I guess he gets himself together as Masakna. The Rotza Gam Kuba Indians that he wants also his old Rishima. Vaz Hazam Mamshek B'Show of the law Bes of Rishima Shalomok Shalo Shayotzev and Estala B'Mena B'Techilas Alala. So now he brings this back in. Vata Rishima Shalazach Neknas B'Pinimu. So now it's inside of Zah. Because Shera Rishima Shalomok and Niknas B'Resha Zan, and now the Rishima that was previously a Makif is now back inside of Zeranpit. Bokea Rishima B'Mitzcho Shalazah. The Mashimo itself then breaks out of his forehead. Besot Tefillin Shal Rosh. So that's really an answer to a question that I asked way back when. Now we're going to finish up with Gam Inyan Zecha B'Shal Kanisas of Rishima Shalamocha B'Rosh Their Anpit U'Masha Him Na'azim Besot Tefillin Hu B'Koyach Masha Tachtoinim Mekayim Mitzvos Tefillin Ba'olam Atachton. When you put on the Tefillin, this puts the whole thing in order. Ki call it Tikunim Ana'azim L'Mala B'Cholomos Al Yonim. Haim Rak B'Koyach Ma'isa Tachtoinim Shehem Yisrael. So if you want the flow, you got to do the mitzvahs. Like a Moshe Kosev of Rav L'Kaman, V'zel L'Shona V'hinech of Kosev Omer Tenu Oz L'Lokem Al Yisrael Gauso. So give strength to Jews for the pride of their pride, the pride of the. I guess it's God's pride. Pirish Kaviyachal Hashem Yisbarach Sarak Ezer V'Siyua V'Koach Min Ma'isa Yisrael L'Tachtainim. He needs help from down below to be able to develop up above. The Zecha Pasuk called it the Tefillin Rosh. So this pasuk has been, there was a pasuk. The pasuk says, "A kashuk o kina." Jealousy is as bitter or difficult as the grave. So it's like a pasuk called the Tefillin Rosh. So the pasuk really refers to the Tefillin Rosh. Haba achat tefillin sheyad. They come after the tefillin sheyad. The revechu kabiyachu nikneses kina b'zazahi. By that is to say, he's bringing in kina into their anpin. Why? Alu shabashim shalamokum shalanok niknas b'nekudas sekasa shalo. He saw what happened to the rishima of the nok. The kevin shekasha who controlled kina the zaza. Since he was jealous about this, the kach shav gamku as the rishima shalamokum shalo. So he brings his own Rishimo back in, which produced the Tefillin Sharosh Shalo, Alamocha Shalo, Vanasa Tefillin Sharosh, Beresha Dezah, because Naasa Bekoich, Maisa Tachtoin. Okay, so that's that shear.